To begin, let me introduce the members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to the board. To his left is Tom O'Brien, a planner in the planning department. To his left is Allison Murray, a planner in the planning department. To her left is John Bongino, town building director. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek the relief from going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The town board has given Board of Appeals additional powers such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variants deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, height, setback, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether a variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interests of the applicant and those in the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance it shall deem necessary and adequate, and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Special exception variants are different than area variances. When we have a special exception application before us, I will explain the different criteria for them. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. O'Brien. And then you will be sworn in the podium and you will be given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please, organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve the decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. Number 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. Number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. I do have some adjournments, so let me tell you what the adjournments are. Case 16622, Claros on 7 Locust Street. Was anyone interested in that case? That is adjourned to April 10th. The next case that is adjourned is case 16526, Joseph Logabo. It is 28 Pulaski Road. Anyone for that case? Okay, that case has been adjourned to April 10th also. Now I can see there's a great deal of interest in the community on one of the applications. I'm going to ask, I don't know what case it is, but I'm going to ask the applicant will present his case, and then I will allow everyone one opportunity to be heard. Your remarks must be factual and related to the variances. As a board, our decisions are based on 5 criteria posted here before you. It is very important that this hearing is very orderly. There is no calling out, no talking from the audience, no applause, or any outbursts. This board is not code enforcement, and we have no authority. Everyone needs to cooperate so the court stenographer can hear and record all statements. And everything needs to be addressed to this board. I will then ask the applicant to come back and to answer all your concerns. I thank you for your cooperation and orderly and your professional manner. The first case tonight, case 16616, Robert and Kidman Brown, 4 Stirrup Lane, Fort Salonga. Location, south side of Stirrup Lane, north of Pulaski Road, Fort Salonga, property zone R21. Request variance to reduce minimum side yard setback from 16 feet and to 10 feet for an existing 130 square foot shed.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Tom O'Brien. I'd just like to call your attention to, as you know, this is an application to permit an existing shed, which, if you look at the site plan survey, you'll see that it's in the required side yard as opposed to being in the rear yard. If it were in the rear yard, then and it was 10 feet away from the boundary lines, I wouldn't be here asking you for a variance. It doesn't have an adverse effect on the character of the area or the neighborhood. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant could be achieved by some other method, I guess you could move the shed, but if you look at the way this property is situated, and you see that in the back there's a 20-foot wide scenic easement as per the file map, it really would be kind of jammed in. So we think it's a good place where it's located, and it really doesn't have any effect on the neighboring properties. It's still 10 feet 2 inches from the side yard. Whether the variance is substantial, it's a 6-foot variance in an area where it has very little effect on Stirrup Lane, and lot 24, it's still 10 feet away. So with respect to the variance being substantial, we think not. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the environment, it's a shed. It has obviously no effect on the environment. It's just a storage shed. There's no water to the shed. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, well, it's there. However, if you look at it and you look at how it's placed on this rather almost square lot with that 25-foot buffer, it takes away, it leaves you about 160 feet from the front property to where you could put any accessory structure. So given all those circumstances, we ask the board for its favorable consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I could, and if I can't, my clients are here.
Thank you. Planning?
No, thank you.
Gentlemen.
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this case? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's regularly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Photos. Do we have the photos? Okay. Next case is case 16617. Linda Chiaro Craig, 148 Blydenburg Avenue, Smithtown location. Southwest corner of Blydenburg Avenue and Issaquah River Road, Smithtown. Property zone RM7. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special exception. This is a permitted use. They must meet all the requirements for the special exception. If they do not meet the requirements for the special exception, they are allowed to ask for variances. All right? So that's the difference. Special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a family member. Increase the maximum floor area of the living quarters from 600 square feet to 754 square feet. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 0 for an existing 6-foot fence, Nissaquah Road. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 23 for an existing 40 square foot detached garage, Blydenburg Avenue. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 13 for an existing 328 square foot deck, and from 25 feet to 24 for an existing 172 square foot first floor addition. And your name, please.
My name's Tom Petrarca. Petrarca Design Engineering, Petracca.
Is the applicant here?
I'm the applicant representing the owners, Craig's.
Do you have a power of attorney?
Any power attorney to represent them for the special exception?
You certainly do.
Okay, well, then I'll just have them come up. I have the owner come up.
That's why I'm
Mrs.
asking
Craig?
for the applicants. Thank you. Okay. You know what? Take the mic right out of the, take it right out of there. Okay? Let me have your name, please,
Linda Charbo Craig,
and your address, Linda.
148 Blydenburg Avenue, Smithtown.
All right. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask you to spell your last name, too.
Sure. Petrarca, P as in Peter, Etracca.
And your address.
199 East Main Street, Smithtown, New York.
Okay. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman and the board, we're here for the special exception as well as the several variances for this property. Less than a year ago, the property had a fire on it, and we had submitted for reconstruction of the burned areas, et cetera. Upon doing that, we had found out that a fence and several other areas as listed there were in a variance condition. So we've submitted for variances accordingly for all those. In addition, obviously, with the special exception for the temporary living quarters for Mrs. Craig's father, we're looking for quarters on the existing second story. We're not modifying the house at all relative to its perimeter. We're not extending it upward, not extending it outward. There's really no modification to the exterior being done. One of the reasons we're looking for the variances related to the fence is to provide for the Craig's daughter, so she has a barrier for a disability-related condition to prevent her from running directly out into a street, as well as the fact that right now we've got on the way this property is shaped, as you can see, it's a pie-shaped property with very little room between the backyard corner as it ends up Nisquag River Road there. As you saw on the listing of the report from the plan department, this had already received an exception, a variance for the pool and the fence originally. However, dimensionally, as well on the garage and some of the areas, the current survey shows them to be slightly out, so that's why we're seeking a variance at this time. Relative to the area variance considerations, again, since there's no change, item 1, we're not affecting any change to the exterior of the property. Could we have achieved this application in any other fashion? No, and again, we're not making any modification to it at this time. We're not trying to increase the house for the special exception. Whether the requested variance is substantial, we don't believe so. Again, it's effectively a 1.5-story house. It's not being modified at all. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the physical environment, no. Obviously, we're continuing as is. There's fences being installed, existing pool in the house, and where the alleged difficulty was self-created, No, obviously, having the fire at the start was not self-created, and the conditions that exist were not.
Now, I know there is a PAR. Was the applicant given the PAR to look at?
Have you received a copy of the planning advisory report?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anything that, planning?
The planning department doesn't have any problems with the application as far as all its requested recommends approval.
Gentlemen? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Thank you. Next case is case 16618. John and Roseanne D. Festano, 32 Rita Crescent, Comac. Locations, outside of Rita Crescent, east of Jean Place, Comac, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 9 for an existing 192 square foot roof over. May I have your name, please?
Roseanne Stefano.
You got to speak right into that mic.
Okay. Roseanne Stefano.
And your address, Roseanne.
32 Rita Crescent, Comac.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Are you going to speak?
I guess so.
Just in case you're going to speak.
Then I got to swear you in. Let me have your name, please.
John Stefano,
All right, and your address, John?
32 Rita Crescent, Comac.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, you want to tell us why you're here? The mic.
Okay. We have a patio cover that's existed for about 33 years in our backyard. We had no idea that we even needed anything for the patio cover. You can't see it from my neighbors' houses. We are all hedged in and treed in. And nobody can see it. It meets the roof line of the house. And that's why it's out to that. There was also an existing patio there that when we bought the home, and the patio cover was, I guess the patio was made to meet the edge of the house, and that's where we put the patio cover. We couldn't do it by any other method because it is the foundation, it's in, the poles are in like 3 feet of cement. We would have to cut the whole thing down. It's not movable. It's not feasible to move it. At the risk of sounding dumb, by substantial, what do we mean by substantial?
Well, are you asking for a very large variance? For example?
No, I
for example-
believe it's 3 feet.
Okay, all right.
It's 3 feet.
Then it's not substantial.
And it has no effect on the environment. There were no trees taken down. It crosses no wires. There's nothing there. And self-created. I guess we self-created it.
Yes. Because there's one. Let me ask you, are you selling your home?
At some point.
Is
not
that why
right
you're
now.
here? That's why you're here, I guess, just to make
We'll get all the paperwork in proper
Okay.
order.
Yeah, we want to make sure everything is
Okay.
intact.
Okay,
Correct our wrongs.
fine. Planning? Gentlemen?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Rarely moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16619, Mark and Linda Zietz, 2 Susan Drive, Fort Salonga. Location, southwest corner of Breezy Hill Drive and Susan Drive, Fort Salonga, property zone R43. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 31 for a basketball court and a 10-foot high fence existing. Increase the fence height in front yard from 4 feet to 10 feet existing. Reduce side yard setback from 24 feet to 4 for a 96 square foot shed. And your name, please?
My name is Mark Sizz,
And your address?
2 Susan Drive, Northport, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
I'd like for him to help, perhaps.
To help?
But
All right,
I'll start.
Let me swear him in. See.
Hi, my name is John Lennon. Address is 20 Ridge Road, Smithtown, New York.
Spell your last name.
Lennon, Lennon.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, whoever wants to start.
Sure, I'll start. So I have a corner lot, and my address is 2 Susan Drive, so I considered the front yard 2 Susan, where my address is, my front door. My side lot is Breezy Hill, and that's where I had this pavement put down for a sports court for my 4 children. So I'm at a corner. Across the house is a head injury home, a convalescent home. And there's a lot of people that come and go, and so I wanted a place for my children to be able to play in the back where I could watch them and also not have to worry about some of the people that were coming in and out that I didn't necessarily know from the neighborhood. So the area was paved and replaced a bunch of brush and bushes that were there. I don't think that it's changed the character in a negative way. I think it's improved the location because it looks very nice. I've put a lot of plantings around it to surround the sports court, including the fence area that's there. The benefit itself, it's a safer place for my children to play. And again, I think it improves the value of the property and the neighborhood properties around it. My house on the corner is also on a hill, so I cannot put a basketball net or have the kids play on the driveway because things roll down into the street with regularity, and that's the second reason why I put it there. I don't believe that the variance is substantial. I don't think it causes any nuance to the neighborhood, and I think the dimensions that I'm asking for the changes are very slight. Given that I'm on a corner property and that I have a pool to the left of the house, there's no other location that I can actually have this area. And then part of the variance as well includes a 10-foot high fence. I only have that on one part of the court. The court itself, I think you can see on the dimensions, has a fence on just 2/3 or 2 parts and a part of one. But there's only one 10-foot fence, and I did that to be respectful of my neighbor so that when the kids were shooting baskets, which is a 10-foot high basket, the ball wouldn't go over and damage my neighbor's plantings and or their car that's nearby there. Number 4, will it have an adverse effect if I take it down? Again, I worry that I want to be respectful for my neighbors to take that fence down. The shed itself, which was another variance asking for the setback to go from 24 to 4, I don't believe is substantial. It actually replaced the shed that was there when I moved in that was 8 by 8. And so I just replaced that when I actually had the sports court done. I did not have a CO from the prior owner either. I didn't know you needed one for a shed greater than 50 square feet until you folks pointed that out. And clearly it was all self-created, but I actually thought it was something that would be of value to not only my family, but improve the value of the neighborhood. You can see I've done a lot of plantings around it to try to minimize the impact of how it looks. I think it's sharpened up the neighborhood, but I appreciate your time.
Did you want to add anything?
No, I just want to reiterate the statements that Mark had made, and that it was a great improvement over what was there. There was a lot of poison ivy and thorn bushes in the area that the sport court is in now. Really, being that it's a corner lot, anywhere he would have put it would have ended up being in the violation of a side or a front yard sort of zone. I mean, the variance requested is a little substantial as far as its differences in setbacks go, but again, you know, it really couldn't be achieved by going any less. And, you know, that's basically it. I think it, you know, as you see from the photographs, it was professionally landscaped and does improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood as well as, you know, his lot itself.
Okay. And just let me tell you that we do visit the sites, so we were at your home yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want,
Do you have the exterior lighting on the court?
I do, yes.
Is it shielded down so not to affect the neighbors?
It is.
how high is the lighting?
It's on the top of the 10-foot pole.
One?
There's 2 lights, one away from the street and one straight down.
All right, thank you.
Good point. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning, was there anything? Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Israeli moved in second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Next case is case 16620, Ralph Cassetta, 27 Robin Drive, Hauppauge. Location, north side of Robin Drive, east of New Highway, Hauppauge, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 36 for an existing 168 square foot covered porch.
I'm Ralph Gazzetta.
You can take that mic. Your name, please,
Ralph Gazzetta,
and your address.
27 Robin Drive in Hauppauge.
Okay, raise your right hand, please.
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are you speaking?
Yep, I guess so.
May I have your name
Diane Cazzetta,
and your address, Diane?
27 Robin Drive in Hauppauge.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You need a notary, it's not notarized? All right. We have plenty of attorneys here. Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what, let me hear your case, then you take that. Could I ask one of the attorneys in the back? Is there an attorney in the back that will notarize his application for him? Is there anyone? You don't have your stamp? Oh, Mr. Tramarko is here, and I'm sure that he will he'll notarize it for you. Okay? I don't know what the charge is, but he'll notarize it.
I hope it's a quarter.
Okay. Why don't you present your case, please?
Okay, we have an existing porch and a garage, and we put a roof line over the porch to align with the garage. If this was an extension, and we're going to process getting the building permits for it. As far as the 5 things that we have to address, there is definitely no adverse effect on the environment. It's not a substantial difference. It's only the 4 feet. It doesn't affect neighboring parcels. It's actually aesthetically more pleasing than if nothing was over the porch at all. It kind of extends out to meet with the other part of the house, so there is something covering the porch. And there's no environmental problem with it. Did I get it?
Okay. Planning? Gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Take that back, and Mr. Tramarko is in all the way in the back. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on that application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
It's really moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16621, PL Smithtown LLC. The location is 3050 Middle Country Road. Location southwest corner of Middle Country Road and Moriches Roads, Wisconsin. Property zone SCB. Request variance to increase the maximum ground sign area from 32 square feet to 48 square feet. Thank you. Gentlemen, this is for each of you. Okay. Okay. May I have your name and address, please?
Sure. It's Michael Cox, Weber Law Group, 290 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 200E, Melville. Counsel to PL Smithtown LLC. As stated in the notice, we're here tonight to seek a variance from Chapter 322, Article 10 of the Town of Smithtown Code to permit the replacement of an existing 32 square foot ground sign with a 48 square foot ground sign at the Smithtown Plaza Shopping Center. Smithtown Plaza is located on the south side of Middle Country Road, just west of Moriches Road, and is situated on approximately 19.8 acres. Smithtown Plaza is located on a well-developed commercial corridor and is currently improved with 2 retail stores with a total GFA of approximately 180,000 square feet. All of the existing retail space at Smithtown Plaza is currently occupied by Bob's Discount Furniture, PetSmart, and Costco. If you take a look at the site plan, you will notice that in relationship to Middle Country Road, that the subject property is much deeper than it is wide. As a result of the subject property's shape, the retail stores do not have as much frontage on Middle Country Road and are significantly set back from Middle Country Road. For instance, Costco is 780 feet back from Middle Country Road. Bob's Discount Furniture is 331 feet from Middle Country Road, and PetSmart is approximately 200 feet from Middle Country Road. As such, Costco's, Bob's, and PetSmart have limited visibility to passing motorists on Middle Country Road due to the subject property's limited frontage, a posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour, and landscaping within the parking lot that obstructs a motorist's view from some of the wall signs located on PetSmart and Bob's Discount Furniture. Given these impediments, the sign as it presently exists has over time proven to be insufficient to effectively inform passing motorists of businesses located in Smithtown Plaza. As such, we are requesting relief from this board to permit the installation of a slightly larger ground sign that we believe better services the site and is more aesthetically appealing than the existing sign. I guess to put the requested relief in context, the additional 16 square feet that we're seeking to put on the sign is only a 2x8 placard that would go onto the sign. As such, we submit that as Smithtown Plaza is located on a well-developed commercial corridor, the limited frontage of Smithtown Plaza on Middle Country Road, and the de minimis nature of the requested relief, that should relief be granted, it will not result in an undesirable change in the character of the corridor, nor will it have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the corridor.
Planning? Gentlemen. All right. You okay? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This one? Okay. Mm-mm. People. The applicant is gone. Nope. Okay. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next case is case 16622, which is Claros, has been adjourned to April 10th. Okay. Next case is case 16623, James and Jane's Pennsylvania, I think it is. Okay. Pennsylvania. 39 Stonywood Road, Comac, location south side of Stonywood Road, west of Bambi Lane, Comac. Property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 34, 47 existing. Decrease the distance for any existing swimming pool from 10 feet to 9 for an existing 234 square foot addition. Okay. May I have your name, please?
Jane Pennsylvania,
And your address?
39 Stonywood Road, Comac, New York.
All right. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Madam Chairwoman, Ralph L. Sasser Expediting Services, 11 Cherry Street, Selden, New York.
All right. Spell your last name.
Elsasser.
Okay.
It's almost as tough as Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, come on. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
We're before the board today, requesting the variances and going through the questions, whether it's an undesirable change or produced any noticeable character changes to the neighborhood. We don't feel it. It's been built since 1992, and if you've got the photos of it, you can see it's actually a great-looking room, and quite frankly, more people should do it, but get the variance first. Whether the benefits sought for this applicant achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variance, I don't see one at this time. This was for their enjoyment. They're not selling a house or anything like that. It's a one-story structure. It's not going to be infringing on any of the neighbors as far as privacy and so forth. And whether the area variance is substantial, the board may look at it as substantial as far as 16 feet, but I don't look at it that way. And the simple fact, you also have a certificate of existing use for an in-ground swimming pool in the backyard also. The variance, again, we just addressed, had no adverse effects, and whether this difficulty was self-created, absolutely it was self-created. It was built by them in 1992.
Planning? Gentlemen? Okay. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16624, ECRC Realtor LLC, 19 Haunted Road, Comac. Location, east side of Haunted Road, south of Jericho Turnpike, Comac. Property zone PB. Request variance to increase the number of wall signs from 1 to 2. Permit a wall sign not to face a public street. Increase the maximum height of wall signs from 10 feet to 20 feet. Increase the maximum area of 2 wall signs from 12 feet to 15 and to 20 feet. Increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 3 feet to 15 feet.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting and affidavit of compliance to Tom. I guess you all know where this property is, not only because you visited it, but it's next to an application that's presently pending before the town board, I guess commonly known as the Hess gas station application, which was recently heard this past Thursday night. And the reason why I bring that up is to try and make the board aware of the area that this property is located in. Next to the proposed Hess gas station and convenience store, if you head a little bit east, you're going to see Kim Insurance, and then, of course, the Spare Rib. Across the street is Friendly Ice Cream. Next to that is Chuck E. Cheese, all having large commercial signs. If you head west on the other side of Haunted Road and Indian Head Road, going west on Jericho, there's Sunken Meadow Collision, who has a very nice sign, which we did, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and it's certainly higher than 15 feet. Across from the Sunken Meadow Collision Shop is a Chinese restaurant called Tofu. I've indicated to you that, no, I haven't, Ace Hardware and PetSmart are in that shopping center, again, west of my client's premises. It's been a long, arduous task. My client has completely remodeled the building that was built in the 20s, I think, by Mr. Rao, who also had a hot dog place along Jericho Turnpike in the 30s. If you ever have gone to the Spare Rib, they have pictures of that. And again, the reason why I bring all this up is because it is a commercial area, and my client's request wouldn't have an adverse effect on that area because it's a business area. Can it be achieved by some other method? We need to be noticed. We need the awareness of the public that a podiatrist is moving from one place in the Mayfair Shopping Center to this new building, which ECRC, which is the parent company owned by Mr. and Mrs. Burrow, Dr. and Mrs. Burrow, have spent a substantial amount of money to fix up a building that was really in bad shape and was maintained that way for many years. We did the rezoning on that, probably the first professional business in the early 70s. The variances we asked for will not have an adverse effect on the environment or the conditions in the neighborhood. Again, it's a business area, and this is a professional business site with a professional going in there. Was the difficulty self-created? Obviously, we haven't put up any signs yet. I will say that when we went for Board of Site Plan Review, these signs were shown. Not that they have the authority to grant variances, but that's what was given to the Board of Site Plan Review. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. Again, bearing in mind, it's commercial all around. And I'm aware of a letter from the Parks Department, which is really kind of silly, because if you go on that parkway and you look to the right or to the left, all you're going to see is business. Not my client's business, but every other business that's been there for many years, some newer than others, and variances were granted for all of those businesses, or some of those businesses, I should say. So the state doesn't have a preemptive right here. It's a request of this board by the state. This is not an area that's running through an area that there is no business. Parkway runs right through a business area. So, we asked the board for its favorable consideration. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Planning?
Bring to the board's attention the letter from the from New York State Office of Parks. I'll let the counsel to the board speak as to whether the board has the authority to overrule a request of the Parks Department.
Madam Chair, I think we should look into this before rendering a decision. I know, Mr.
They can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
I can't hear you, that's for sure.
I don't know if this is working. If all right. Hello?
Good.
I know what Mr. Trimarco said about the state's lack of preemption here. He might be right. I would just request perhaps some time to look into that, and we'll deal with that issue.
That's fine.
All right. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I can let anyone else who may be in the audience and be interested know what the state's request was that the sign facing Harned Road be limited to 15 feet in height.
Okay. Gentlemen, is there any other questions you want to need to ask? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Okay. All right. What I'm going to ask you to do is just to line up, just save time if you don't mind. I'll let everyone speak. You're going to have to state your name and spell it for me, and then I'll swear you in, all right? Appreciate it. May I have your name, please?
Sure. Andrew Boning, B-O-E-H-N-I-N-G.
And your address, Andrew?
21 Harned Road.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You realize this is just for the signs we're talking?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I take exception with the counsel who was speaking on behalf, saying that this is a commercial area. I live right next door, the south parcel. So on two sides, both the east and the south, is residential property. They've already taken down a number of trees that would have hidden a larger sign or a taller sign. And I feel, and my uncle, who is the property owner, who's presently in Florida, requested me to come here and speak my feelings, or his feelings through me also. Like I said, I don't think they should be given any gravity for anything that's already allowed by town code. They have removed any kind of natural barrier for both sound and sight. They've added lighting in the parking lot. I know that's not the issue here, but the fact remains that if they didn't remove a half a dozen 30 and 40-foot hardwood trees and pine trees, I would not be standing here today. I wouldn't have take exception to a sign that's requesting to be larger than is what is presently legal, facing or not facing a public road. So if it's not facing a public road, then it means that it's facing my uncle's property. I already see more than I care to see. I can see Jericho Turnpike now from my backyard. And to me, that's totally unacceptable. I don't think that should be granted any levity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please. May I have your name, please?
Thomas Polk. I'm at 23 Haunted Road.
Spell your last
Pomac.
name.
It's P-A-L-K.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I've been a resident at 23 Haunted for over 25 years. Mr. Tramaco had said that it's a commercial area, and it's commercial on Jericho Turnpike. It's residential every place else. This was made a PB back, it might have been 12 years ago or so. I'm not sure exactly the amount of time when it was, because the person that just spoke before, who's speaking for Charlie Jerkins, they owned from Jericho Turnpike right to my house. They had sold the gas station, the shade shop, and then they sold the one house to a typing service that was in there, and everything was fine. Now they took all the trees down. If they put these signs up there, we're going to walk out our front doors and see these very large signs, and I don't believe that they should be granted larger signs bringing up 15, 20 feet in the air. You know, it's not commercial property. It's PB. So all the things that he mentioned, all the commercial buildings, all commercial buildings. You know, Friendly's, Spare Rib, the auto shop. He's a PB. And when we didn't fight the PB when it was there because, well, it was a small business, doctor can go in there, whoever it might be, or the typing service at the time, they want to put a small sign to say they're there, fine. But we're not looking for a commercial strip there.
Okay.
And I've got a 16-year-old, and, you know, this kid's on the block, and I believe that it shouldn't be the sizes he's asking for ridiculous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much. Next, please.
How you doing?
Tell me your name.
Yeah, my name is Lance Sirota,
Spell your last name.
S-I-R-O-T-A.
And your address.
My address is 27 Haunted Road.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. I just want to say that every business that was mentioned before, as Tom said, is commercial. That's on Jericho Turnpike. Our area, different than every other area, this one borders a home and our homes in a row. It was also mentioned that passing over on the Parkway, you can see every sign and it's all, you know, commercial. That's false. The only place you see is when you cross over Jericho Turnpike. It's an overpass, if you're familiar with the area over there. The signs that he's asking for, if you look and see the amount of square footage that he's asking for, it's the addition to his sign is actually bigger than the table that you're sitting at. I think it's a little ridiculous. All the trees are down. I just don't think it's a you know, right area for this you know, for this to be proposed.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
realize it's just the height that he's asking for. There's no square footage.
I thought there was square footage
Where
if you
is
read the paper.
5 times on the wall sign.
Okay. Thank you.
It's an additional 20-something square feet, actually.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have your name, please?
Yes, Jeanette Salvito.
Spell your last name.
S is in Sam, A-L, V is in Victor, I-T-O. I'm
Raise
the
your right hand.
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the
I
truth?
do.
Thank you.
I'm the vice president of the Comac Community Association. And lately, we seem to be bombarded with all sorts of zoning issues, not just on the Smithtown side, but on the Huntington side. I've lived in Comac since 1959, and I've watched the change taking place in the character of the area. And on Harned Road, as so many people have said, it is not business. And I don't think that what New York State Parks said is laughable, or whatever the gentleman said. I think it should be taken into consideration. That area, as Town Line Road and some of the other areas, were really never intended to be something that was extravagant in terms of business. Jericho Turnpike is about the size of it. The other factor is, and I know that Mr. Tremarco mentioned the character in the 1920s and 30s. Yes, but if you look at the pictures of Comac going all the way into the 1950s, they were businesses, but they were generally set back. It was much more rural. There were fewer people here. If you drive down that section, you end up with practically getting into an accident no matter which side you're on. It's a very dangerous area, and the last thing you need is a whole slew of more huge signs staring you in the face. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, very quickly, please. Let me have your name, please.
I'm Pat Polk,
Okay.
2300 Road.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I sat down because I thought that my neighbors took care of everything, but there's one thing I did sit here and learn from the man who was representing the sign for Costco, and that was that he felt that people couldn't see the sign because of the speed limit. Well, our speed limit is supposed to be 30 miles an hour. So if you get a 3x5 sign, that's more than big enough for people to see going 30 miles an hour. So I just was going to suggest that everyone should just look at what they can see going 30 miles an hour, and there's really no need for a huge sign like that for a doctor's office. My doctor's office doesn't even have a sign outside it. I know where he is.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Mr. Tremarco?
The people who spoke are right. We did take down trees in the back, and the reason why was so we could put solar panels on the roof and get the benefit of solar electricity. However, just because we took them down doesn't mean we don't have to put trees back.
Right.
There is a site plan on file, which folks on Haunted Road can take a look at. I don't know if Tom has it with him tonight, but the site plan requires replanting all along the back. It requires the planting of trees, which will again restore the buffer.
From my understanding, it's a 20-foot buffer that you have to replace. Excuse me. You need to put it, from my understanding, when these was done, it's a 20-foot buffer.
Right, whatever
Okay.
the site plan says, we have to abide by it. It's already been ruled upon.
Okay. Yes.
The condition of the previous variance is that a 20-foot buffer shall be planted along the east property line.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Was there anything you wanted to say? No? Okay. Next case is case 16625, Gerald Schultz, 3 Saturn Boulevard, Hauppauge. Location, south side of Saturn Boulevard, east of Torland Court, Hauppauge, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum rear yards from 50 feet to 36 feet for a proposed 450 square foot covered deck. Reduce the minimum side yard from 12 feet to 9 for an existing 330 square foot addition. And your name, please?
Good evening, Madam Chair, gentlemen. Douglas Parks, 21 Grand Avenue,
Are you the applicant here? Okay, I need you first.
I'm sorry, but
You have to give her permission for me to speak.
oh, yes, yes.
May I have your name, please?
Linda Scholes,
And your address, please?
3 Saturn Boulevard, Hop Hop.
Okay, raise your right hand.
I'm sorry, I don't hear well.
Raise your right
All right.
Oh, yes.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. All right, and you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. Thank you. Now, and would you spell your last name for me?
Douglas Parks, P-A-R-K-S,
And your
21 Grand Avenue, Patchogue, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
If I may, just a little,
Oh, did you want to head something out?
no.
Oh,
I'm all
okay.
set. Mr. Scholes would be here this evening. He asked your forgiveness. He has a back injury that he's doctoring for. And
That's fine.
if there are any questions that Ms. Scholes has to answer, she has a little problem with hearing, so I would ask that we speak up or relay it through me.
Certainly.
Thank you very much. The hearing is for two. It comes in two parts this evening. Mr. and Mrs. Scholes bought this house about a year ago out of foreclosure. Unfortunately, when they purchased it, they weren't made aware of certain outstanding violations to code. It's been their intention to clear them all up since they've purchased the house and occupied it. That's evidenced by the fact they've already gotten a CO for a in-ground swimming pool that was removed. Addressing the issue of the prior built, if I may, back in 1978 approximately, the zoning board granted a variance to add an additional garage, attached garage, make it from 1 car to 2 car. I mention this because the prior built family room, which is to the rear of that addition, is right in line, referring to the property line on the west. It will not encroach any further than the existing garage. It falls in line with the garage. As I say previously, the zoning board granted that variance for reduction in side yard. And I believe that's what that portion of this variance request is for, is to reduce the side yard from 12 feet to 9 feet. That room, again, as I say, it complies with the previous zoning permit that was issued, so it will not have any further or any adverse effect. As far as creating a hardship if they were to remove the room, it's kind of obvious. It would be very involved to deconstruct that room. There is no plumbing within the subject piece of structure except for heating, so there's no environmental impact on it. As far as that portion of the zoning application, it's pretty much what there is to present on it. The other portion is to construct a covered raised deck to the rear. As far as encroaching on the rear property line, the piece of property that bounds the rear of the property is, I believe, a 10-foot utility easement. And further from that easement, traveling further south, is a wooded area which ends about 50 feet out to a roadway. As I understand, that piece of property cannot be developed. It's not large enough. I mention this because there will be no adverse effect as far as encroaching on anyone's privacy to the rear. There'll be no buildings there. There are no buildings there. It's wooded area. And again, a utility easement. As far as encroaching on the neighbor to the east, where they propose to put this raised covered porch, that house has the garage there, so they won't be next to any occupied as far as living area within that structure. The raised covered porch will not have any plumbing, so there's no environmental impact. As far as putting it elsewhere, wherever they would put it on the back of the house would require the same zoning consideration as far as reducing the rear yard. I believe I've addressed the issues that are required. If I have any questions.
We'll ask. Planning, is there any? Okay. Gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Is really moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Next case is case 16626, Forest Laboratories, Inc. Location, southeast of Comac Road, south of Delaware Avenue, Hauppauge. Property zone LI. Request variance to increase the maximum building height from 35 feet to 43. Reduce the buffer area and parking setback adjoining the resident district from 100 feet to 20 existing. Reduce required parking spaces from 1,961 to 1,473 proposed. Reduce the front yard parking setback from 50 feet to 48 existing. Reduce the number of planting aisles from 166 to 129.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Anthony Guardino. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Farrell Fritz in Uniondale, New York, and I represent Forest Labs. If you could just give us 1 minute here, we just want to set up an easel.
Why don't you, he does, huh? I just.
Okay. May I begin? Can I start?
Sure.
Okay, sure. Okay, as I said, I'm Anthony Guardino, I represent Forest Labs in connection with their application for several area variances for their facility that's located at 500.
Take that mic and bring it up a little bit, or take it whatever you want.
500 Comac Road in Comac. I have with me tonight Douglas Wolfert, Sr., who is the Director of Facilities for Forest Labs. He's going to say a couple of words. To assist in my presentation, I'll have Mike Keffer, who is a professional engineer. He's with H2M Group, and also traffic engineer Sean Mulryan from Mulryan Engineering. At this time, before I just begin, I'd just like to introduce Douglas Wolfert and let him say a few words and kind of give this application some context.
Good evening.
Good evening. Let me have your name and address, please.
Sure. Douglas Wolfert, 37 Tudor, Farmingdale.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Spell your last name.
W-O-L-F-E-R-T. Okay. I just prepared just a little something here.
And you're going to need to take that mic, too, so
They're good?
everyone can hear.
Okay. Forest Laboratories, a New York-based pharmaceutical company, has a total of 7 locations on Long Island. Forest currently employs more than 800 associates Long Island-wide. Our typical hours of operation is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The goal of the proposed project is to consolidate the function and personnel of 3 Long Island locations to 500 Comac Road. Consolidating our real estate portfolio will enable us to maximize the utilization of our real estate, offer better collaboration, increase efficiencies, and improve amenities for associates. Today, we occupy more than 748,000 square feet on Long Island, of which approximately is 40% utilized. After the consolidation, our footprint will decrease to approximately 570,000 square feet. Upon consolidation, functions at 500 Comac Road will include accounting, compliance, informatics, corporate sales training, clinical packaging, a data center, sampling, testing, quality control. In closing, I just wanted to mention that Forest is looking to stay in Long Island. Comac is our biggest real estate location. And as I said before, it's not fully utilized, and we feel that condensing the facilities to that site will aid us in economies of scales, reduce our energy footprint, et cetera. So that's all I have. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Secretary. So this is really about bringing a number of facilities that are nearby in the town and in other places on Long Island, kind of all under one roof. We have a very large building here that is able to accommodate, with some modification, these other facilities, and try to just, as Doug said, just bring them all under one roof, and that will make things more efficient. It'll be more economical, and just makes sense for Forest Labs to do this. So that's the background. The property is about 34 acres in size. It's located on the east side of Comac Road, about 455 feet south of Delaware Avenue in Comac. It is comprised of 4 tax lots that are located, again, on the east side of Comac Road. In the book, you can see the relative location of the parcels. There's a tax map. There's also an aerial photograph, and there's a street map. And those are exhibits 1, 2, and 3. It might be helpful in following along. The property is currently improved with approximately 420,000 square foot, 1-story and 2-story glass and metal building. It has parking for 1,473 cars. 901 of that total is actual spaces. The other 572 spaces are currently land banked, and that was pursuant to an approval when the facility expanded several years ago. There's also some associated landscaping and site improvements that are going to be done, and some that were done as part of the prior expansion. And you can see the photo of the subject property, which is at Exhibit 4. I think there were a couple in there. As Doug mentioned, this facility is Forest Labs' largest on Long Island. And as you can see from the photographs, Forest Labs takes pride in how attractive its building is, and how well it maintains the landscaping in the facility. You can see the lawns, the landscaping, everything is meticulously manicured, and they run a real nice operation there. The property is located in the town's LI light industry zoning district, which, as you know, permits this existing use. So we don't have any use issue here. It's an area variance issue. Around the property, if you look at the surrounding properties, this parcel is as large as it is, it's rather unique in the sense that it's bordered to the west by Comac Road, obviously. There's one single-family home that's at the corner of Daly and Comac Road that faces this facility. And then the rest of the frontage, the opposite side of the frontage, is the Hamlet Golf and Country Club. So there's a golf course across the street. There are no neighbors per se, other than the one house on the corner of Daly, and again, that's fronting on that house fronts on Comac Road. Then you have on the south, you have a New York State Department of Transportation maintenance facility. To the east, you have the Sunken Meadow State Parkway, and to the north, you have a residential property that appears to be used for commercial purposes. If you look in the booklet at Exhibit 5, you'll see some of the photographs. The first two photographs are of the DOT maintenance yard. The second two are of this residentially zoned property that, as you can see, there's heavy equipment, there's storage trailers. It's clearly being used for commercial purposes. It is zoned, however, residential, and that's significant for the application. There's also a 50-foot wide LIPA right-of-way that is also north of the subject property. If you look here, where my finger is, there's a 50-foot wide LIPA right-of-way that actually separates the facility from houses that are further to the north, that are on the south side of Delaware Avenue. There are a few houses here. And you can see the photos of those houses that are also in the booklet. Forest Labs is primarily proposing site improvements to add an additional 430 parking spaces to the north and east of the building. And you can see them here and here, the dark gray areas. And also to create a 5-foot wide walking exercise path around the perimeter of the property for its employees. And you see here in brown, there's a meandering walkway, which will be like a sidewalk. And the purpose of that is really for the benefit of the employees. It's a, as you know, it's a rather large site. People want to take a stroll during their lunch break. There's really nowhere to go here on Comac Road. So the thought was that they would just put a small meandering walkway that would, you know, kind of serpentine through the trees, save the trees, and just so people can just take a walk. I just think that's just a good thing, a nice amenity for the employees. But again, that walkway is triggering some of the variances here. So although it looks like we need a lot of relief, it's really for this little walkway and for a few other things, which I will get to in a second. Also, there's going to be an interior 32,000 square foot mezzanine. So although we're calling for additional square footage to be constructed within the building, it's inside the building. We're not building up, we're not going out. The building is physically, from the outside, will look exactly the way it looks now. It's not getting any larger. Also proposing to add some skylights to the interior space, well, to the roof, to illuminate the interior space. Where the roof line is already at the maximum building height, these skylights, which are, I guess, are like barrel vaults, actually will pierce the maximum height, so we do need variances for the skylights. Also, there's going to be a cooling tower that is going to be located over here on the building, roughly. And that will, that cooling tower will be, the total height of it will be, well, when you get to the top, it's at 43 feet. That's not the height of the cooling tower, but that's after it sits on the roof. The cooling tower will exceed the maximum height in this zone of 35 feet by 8 feet. So it pierces that plane by 8 feet. The cooling tower will be located here, and that's significant because if you look at the size of the building, no one's going to be able to see that cooling tower because it's where it's located. One of the important things, and I just point at the site plan you can see as Exhibit 6, is kind of what I'm showing you here. But one of the most important things to note is that the majority of the work, which is going to be these parking lots here and here, they fully comply with zoning. So the biggest part of this application is compliant with zoning. We don't need any relief for the parking. Access to development will continue to be located on the north side of the property and the south side of the property. You have the two curb cuts, so that continues. That does not change. But as I mentioned, we still need 6 variances here, and let me just go through those very briefly if I could. The first one, can I take this out? Okay. Okay, thank you. The first variance is the height variance, and the maximum height in the zone, 35 feet. We are proposing this cooling tower. The top of the cooling tower will be at elevation 43 feet. Again, it's for skylights, which are just barrel vaults. The cooling tower, they will not be perceptible to any of the neighboring parcels. It's just too big. By the time you could see this cooling tower, you'd be halfway across the golf course, and then you probably really can't see what it is. You'd have to be so far away, I'm sorry. You will not see the cooling tower from the houses here because there will still be a 100-foot buffer here of the pine trees, and whatever is there now will remain at 100 feet. You don't have, like I said, no neighbors here. There's no neighbor here because you have the DOT yard. You don't really have a neighbor here. You don't have a neighbor here because you have the Sunken Meadow Parkway. The second variance we need is to reduce the setback and buffer area in the rear yard to the adjoining residence district from 100 feet to 9 feet. Now that sounds like a significant variance. Let me explain why it's not. First of all, the residential zone is the parkway. It happens to be zoned R43. So you don't have a neighbor, but it's residentially zoned and it triggers a 100-foot setback and buffer. As it exists, there's a driveway that's here. This driveway is already 20 feet, so there's already a 20-foot setback. That's going to remain. That's not going to change at all. What's going to change is we're going to be winding in this pathway, and that pathway is going to be located 9 feet from the parkway. I don't think there's any impact, but I just want to explain, you know, what seems like a significant variance in my mind is relatively insignificant. Third variance is that we provide less than the 1,961 required parking stalls. I'm going to leave that to Sean Mulryan, our traffic expert. He's going to demonstrate why those parking spaces are going to be sufficient for the intended use. The next variance is that we have to reduce the parking setback from the adjoining residential district from 100 feet to 20 feet for the existing drive aisles. Again, what this does is it just allows us to maintain this 20-foot setback. It's already there. So we're asking for a variance, but it maintains the status quo. There's no change. So no change, no impact. The next variance is that we are required. I'm sorry. I don't have enough hands here. The next variance is for the front yard setback. In this zone, we have to maintain a 50-foot front yard setback. And what we have here, this line that goes across here and here is at 50 feet. For some reason, when they constructed this little section of the parking lot, it's a little bit canted, and the surveyor went out and found out it's actually 48 feet. It's already an existing condition. Again, we're going to be asking for a variance to maintain something that's already been there, no impact on any of the neighbors. Finally, the last variance that we're asking for is to reduce the number of planting islands from 166 that are required to 129. And the purpose of doing so is merely to add an additional 30 land bank parking spaces. And those will be right here. Now you see these are shown as land bank spaces and they overlap the planting islands. The reason why this variance will not have any impact whatsoever on any of the surrounding properties is because we are actually constructing the planting islands. So we're just taking credit. The town has allowed us to take credit for the parking spaces here to kind of bring up our land bank number, but the fact of the matter is those parking islands will actually be there. So again, no impact. With respect to the criteria, I would submit that the requested variances are not substantial because none of them will result in any significant alteration of the property or, for that matter, any condition that will adversely impact the users of the site or any adjacent properties. The benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative because the additional parking spaces and the building improvements are required to accommodate the additional employees at the site, which will result from the consolidation of Forest Labs' other facilities in the area. So we absolutely need to do this. The variances will not have an adverse impact on the environment because the site is already largely developed, as you know, and none of the variances will result in the construction of any buildings or other improvements other than the 5-foot wide exercise walking path around the perimeter of the property within the 100-foot setback area. Again, all of the additional parking areas will be constructed in full compliance with the town's zoning requirements. And then finally, although arguably the difficulty is self-created, the variances are not significant and are requested solely to permit the existing site and the building to be improved to accommodate the consolidation of several of Forest Labs' other operations in the area, and in some cases here and here to really just to maintain the status quo. Okay. At this time, I would like to call Mike Keffer, professional engineer, and ask him to just provide a little bit of detail on the site plan, if you would.
Let me have your name and address, please. Spell your last name.
Good evening. My name is Mike Keffer. Last name is Keffer. 52 Highwood Road, Oyster Bay.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Mike Keffer. I'm the engineer of record for the site work for the proposed Forest Labs improvements. Mr. Gardino did a very nice job in terms of going over the site, so I don't want to repeat a lot of things he said, but just make a couple minor points. What's really driving the site in terms of site infrastructure and on the site on this particular site is the north parking area. As Mr. Gardino alluded, this area here, which we showed proposed parking, had been previously approved in a site plan back in 2004, and it was all land bank parking at the time. We're proposing 430 new parking stalls in this area. And with this, and this is where I would say 90% of the work on the site is going to be conducted. But in addition to the paved parking, we're going to propose curbing, drainage to support the impervious area, lighting of the parking field, and we will be landscaping all the parking islands, landscaping around the perimeter of the parking field. In addition, there is this walking path that our goal here is to create a natural condition where this path would meander through the existing trees. All the trees have been located on the site. Our goal is to create minimal disturbance, so there's minimal impact in terms of visibility to adjoining uses. This path, again, is an opportunity for employees to use it as an exercise facility, a place they can go during lunch and take a break. The parking overall for the site, 1,961 stalls are required for the site based on the uses proposed in the building. We're providing 1,473 stalls. Of that 1,473 stalls, 901 are provided, and we propose 572 land bank stalls, of which, when you look at the plan here, majority of them are on the southern parcel. As Mr. Gardino said, we honored the 100-foot buffer parking setback around the entire perimeter of the site. We honored that. The only exception being where there was already an existing encroachment in terms of how the project was previously built and the meandering 5-foot trail, walkway. Other than those major site improvements, what you won't see will be below grade. There's 4 sanitary systems around the site. There's one in the north, one on the west, one to the south, and one to the southeast and south. Those systems will be modified and expanded. We met with the health department. We've gone over that. Everything from a density point, sanitary density point works. And the only other point I wanted to bring up regarding site improvements, there's a lot of impervious area out there now on the south side. We're looking to green that up, taking away that so that from a facility point, the cafeteria and fitness center will be in the southeast, and the opportunity would be there to create more green so that when employees come and go from the building, or if they're out eating out in the plaza area, there's an opportunity there just to enjoy some green space. And that summarizes my comments on the site improvements.
I'd like to call Sean Mulryan. That's the address of the on-site parking.
My name is Sean Mulryan, Mulryan, with the company of Mulryan Engineering, offices at 1225 Franklin Avenue, Garden City, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our office was asked to look at this application due to the required parking variance. The site is required by code to provide 1,961 parking stalls. The applicant is looking to provide 901 paved parking stalls. So the requested variance is a reduction in the amount of paved parking stalls that are otherwise required by the town. If we were to apply the requirements of the town, we would need to pave an additional 1,060 parking stalls. And we believe that this would be an adverse impact on the community. We are looking to reduce that and provide additional greenery on the site to diminish the potential impact of this site on the environment and on the surrounding community. We are looking to do this by providing 572 land bank parking stalls and adding an additional 433 additional parking stalls, which is what we feel is necessary to accommodate the expansion of uses that will happen within this building. We are not expanding the building itself. We are consolidating employees from other locations within the town and bringing them to this facility, as was previously mentioned, to provide a more efficient use of the spaces that Forest Labs currently operates. What we did to verify that the required parking would be more onerous for the site is we looked at the 7 locations that are currently being operated by Forest Labs. We conducted parking studies on 2 separate days during the week. We looked at the peak parking demands at each of those sites. We factored in the percent occupancy of each of those buildings to determine the peak parking generation rates at the current Forest Lab locations. What we found is that this site, at the proposed 901 parking stalls, will operate at approximately 84% capacity, and we feel that that is what we would like to see in terms of the amount of occupancy for that parking lot during the peak periods of demand, and this will minimize the amount of paved parking stalls that we need to provide on the site. Our goal here was not to overbuild the parking lot, but instead to build a parking lot that would accommodate the site, leave room for maneuverability for the vehicles to safely operate, and minimize the amount of space used in paved parking spaces. So as proposed, we are providing a substantial amount of land bank parking stalls. We are minimizing the amount of new paved parking stalls, and this puts us into a variance situation where we are requiring a variance for 488 parking stalls that are not provided within the paved or land banked parking stalls. We feel that the provided parking is more than sufficient based on our studies of the existing sites and the proposed utilization of this particular site. We have worked with Forest Labs and the project team to try to develop a plan that minimizes the new paved areas and brings to this site additional green space and the ability for the employees to work here and enjoy the facility as it is currently proposed. So if there's any questions about the study or anything else you'd like to ask, I'd be happy to try to answer that.
Thank you, Sean. One item that I would like to point out is that when we sent the legal notices, we did...
Go to the mic.
I'm sorry. When we sent the legal notices, we did receive one inquiry from a homeowner that lives, I believe, here, who was, interested in what was going on this side of the site. We did meet with the homeowner. She is here. One of the concerns was that when these trees come down, that there may be you may be able to see more of the building, And apparently there were some arborvitaes that were planted as part of the 2004 expansion that may not be as vibrant and healthy as perhaps they should be. So we have agreed, we will look at this and we'll agree to kind of beef this up if in fact it's necessary. We'll work with the neighbor, so I just wanted the board to know that. And then in closing, I would just submit that in light of the relatively, in my opinion, modest nature of these variances, although there are 6, as I explained, none of them are terribly significant, and most of them are to maintain the status quo. I would submit that on balance, that the benefit to the applicant from the granting of this variance would far outweigh any detriment, which I don't believe there is any detriment to any of the surrounding neighbors. And I thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay. Planning, is there anything?
Just a couple of things, Madam Chair. We have a letter from an applicant, I believe he was referring to, but we just have one question. You proposed on the north side to build the parking and then land bank it on the south side. Is there a reason in particular you chose the north side over the south side?
Yes. The question has been asked several times tonight, and let me see if I can answer. Most of the mechanical space is here. It's a very large building. I don't know if you've ever been in it. It's a long walk to get to the other side now at the expansion. The employee space is here. It doesn't, I mean, this is a pretty far, this would be a long walk. So it doesn't make sense. I see here, you'd say, why have it here and have it here instead? But it's kind of on the wrong side of the building, and it is quite a distance. So it doesn't really function here like it does here. And again, as Mike pointed out, these were previously approved as land bank spaces in 2004. So this was an area that was already designated and approved for parking. And because it works, because this is where the activity takes place now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any questions? Okay. I guess I'll open it up now. If there's anyone that would like to be heard, if you can line up. If there's anyone. Are you all going to be? All right. I hope you understand. All right. Well, I'll let you go. Go ahead. Let me have your name and address.
Richard Manarino, 47 Delaware Avenue, Comac.
Spell your last name.
Mannarino.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Go ahead.
Can I take the mic?
Sure.
I'm going to show you where I live. Okay. So, actually, I'm very grateful for this aerial photograph, because as you can see in it, this particular spot right here that they're proposed to put a parking lot is really quite beautiful. And just like yourselves, I happen to like pretty things. One of the reasons why I bought my house is because when you're standing, whether in the front of the house or in the back of the house, it's a beautiful skyline of evergreens. And if I'm not mistaken, these evergreens were here before this building was here, and I'm optimistic that they're going to remain there afterwards as well. For them to remove this would be a real shame. I think there's an awful lot of wildlife that's in there, birds and, maybe raccoons and just a tremendous amount of wildlife. And I'm optimistic that someone can actually come and take a look, because we even seen an owl up in here, so I think owls are protected. And I would be interested to know if that's the case. I'm a little nervous, as you can see. I think they had mentioned that they would plan on putting a parking lot here, and perhaps if they reconsider to, maybe they can build similar to what Huntington train station has done. They put a second two-story parking lot to accommodate some parking. Maybe they can do something over here instead of just eliminating all these beautiful, white pines. Okay. But my house is 47 Delaware Avenue, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's the fourth house down on the right-hand side. And once again, it's just very pretty. My backyard's pretty, and if your backyard was pretty, I'm sure you wanted to leave it that way also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
You want that?
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Let me have your name and address, please.
My name's Dave Donnelly, 49 Delaware Avenue.
Okay. Raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Nothing but the truth, yes. Yes.
Good. Okay.
What Richie's talking about is we have a great horned owl living in those pines. I've talked to DEC. The state has nothing to do with it, but the federal wildlife and fishing, it is a protected bird. I would like them to come in and study to see that. I've seen the bird. It's a female. She has a nest. You cannot tear down their nesting area. I've watched her train her young on the power lines. You just can't, destroy a bird's nesting area. I mean, everywhere you go to the beach, you see the Piper Cubs, you can't go in this area. I mean, I understand it's their land, but the bird is protected. I feel that we should have a study done by DEC and the feds to see what's going on here. Another thing I'd like to bring up is in '05, Forest Labs was fined $75,000 for wastewater. I really don't understand what's going on over there. I mean, it's not really household dishwashing water they're being fined for. What were they fined for? I mean, I got 15 pages of stuff here.
But that's not in our jurisdiction.
It's not.
No.
But
I mean, we're just here to do variances. We're not.
okay.
We're not code enforcement or anything
Maybe
like
they
that.
can explain that to me.
Well,
All right. Thank you.
yeah.
My name is Dale Donnelly, D-O-N-L-E-Y. I live at 49 Delaware Avenue in Comac.
Great. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I would like to reiterate what my husband said. I was with him and have viewed this owl
Address this
and,
board.
pardon me?
I said address this board.
That I viewed the owl along with its offspring while it was training. We hear the owl every spring, every summer. It lives there. I would like to know if you all did anything.
Excuse me. Address this board.
I would
please.
like to know if anything has been done to concern with the environment. Did they do any studies for the environment? Did anybody have anything to do with that? Did you study what is in living in those pines? And that's my concern. I live right there, and I don't think it's a small little adjustment, not for the people who live there, and I'm sure if it was your home, you'd feel the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Typically do wait for the minutes of the meeting to come in, and they will consider all the information that you're presenting at this time.
And you have to realize there'll be no decision tonight. Yes. Okay. I just want you to know that. Go ahead.
Good
Yeah.
evening again. My name is Jeanette Salvito, S-A-L-V-I-T-O, 45 Wilshire Drive, Comac, New York.
Okay. I swore you in before, so I know.
Yes, I've been sworn. I have a couple of questions in terms of clarification. The first thing is that they're talking about consolidating the Long Island facilities, and suddenly Comac became the hot spot. Back when that was Lily Tulip, some of you may not remember that. I do. They were allowed to be there essentially because it wasn't going to be Melville. And if the height is moved to 43 feet, the logic tells me that from the cooling tower, it moves to other things. Once you grant the variance at 43 feet, now we can make it bigger and taller. No.
They cannot.
They can only put the cooling tower there.
That's right.
Okay, that clarifies one thing. The other thing is we're talking about an increase of 400 jobs, and we're moving the parking lot now to the north side, where the implication is that there are no people on that side. And I think that's if you look at the area, you will see there are indeed houses quite close to that area, and that's the thing that they're not talking about. So you're dealing with more congestion on that side than you are on the other. The last point has to do with the DOT and the fact that, we were talking about the fact that the New York State has the DOT station there. It's almost invisible It's been there as long as I've lived there, and you don't even know that those fellas are there most of the time, except in the winter when they're, gathering their sand and salt or whatever. And that's about it. That's because it is so close to the bridge where the Sunken Meadow Parkway is, and you don't notice them. You notice Forest Lab. And the commentary that was made about the water condition, there have been a lot of water problems around the hamlet, Forest Labs, and it's been going back and forth between the Suffolk County Water Authority and Green Lawn Water Authority in terms of the conditions of water. So it's not just an issue on the Smithtown side, it's also on the Huntington side, just so that you're aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Mark Lobosco. That's L-O, capital B-O-S-C-O. I live at 53 Delaware Avenue, and you might sense a little...
Raise your right hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely. During the first expansion from Forest Laboratories, it was extremely detrimental to those pine barrens that were right over there. We experienced on that whole side of the street probably a lot of mouse infestation from the disturbance of the land being blown out and pushed out, trees going down. There's a huge amount of visibility to the laboratory itself, right from our homes. I know they wanted to put that little walking path in there. If it goes through, I want to get first crack at a deli to put back there, so when they're meandering, I want to be able to sell them some food. A little sarcasm there, but I don't like the idea of them being back there, walking around. My backyard's right there. My pool is there. My daughter's swimming in the pool with some young friends, things like that. Main thing is that Pine Barrens. I think it's a real beautiful spot of land. It was one of the reasons why I moved from Uniondale to Comac. Growing up in Uniondale, living up against Hofstra University, at the time it was Hofstra College. It was a small little college, and you could see what it turned into now. That whole area's gone. It's one big giant university. So I hate to see the same thing occur with this encroachment towards the north side. There's a parcel of land between the south side and the DOT that has just been vacant for a long time. There was a farm stand for a long time. I don't understand why they don't go to that area, and they could go up and above and move over. And I understand that it's easier for them to go north side, but it makes more sense for them to go to the south side, at least for us as a resident.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
James Spencer, I live at 32 Delaware Avenue.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. When the factory was first built there, like 60 years ago, they were allowed to do it because they put a buffer of pine trees between the residential homes and the factory. When this new company first came in, I know they removed some of them, but they also trimmed the ones up they have 30 feet high. So they basically left them there, but made them bare, all the way up as high as they can go. So between that and if they remove most of them, we're going to be staring right at the building. Not to mention the lighting. I live right across the street. We don't need to be looking at lighting like some ball field at night when our kids are trying to go to sleep in our windows and stuff. One other point is that the traffic already is horrendous. We can't get out of the neighborhood as it is. Another 500 cars is going to make a huge difference. I don't know if they've done a traffic study, but it can't be a good one. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, please.
My name is Robert Smith, 16 Otsego Place.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the whole
Yes,
truth?
I do. Swear to. When I bought my home in 1972 in Comac, on Otsego Place, Lily Cup was the small company that was in there, and they had a large buffer around their land where they worked in their company when there was no problem there. Then Hazeltine moved in and they expanded. Then Forest Lab came in, they expanded in 2004, 2005. Now they're looking to expand again. I mean, I think that as a resident, and a longtime resident of Comac, we've given quite a bit. That little neighborhood they're talking about that's north of the Forest Lab is about 100 homes in there. That's it. And they're bordered by across the street by the golf course, and they're bordered by the library. As Forest Lab continues to infringe on that small area that we have in there, I think it's kind of wrong. And I think it was sending a bad message to the residents of the area and a bad message to the people that live in Comac, as well as in Smithtown, that we keep allowing to give up a few things that we've had. We keep changing what we're doing. The business they're going to change is the traffic flow in there. And I think what Jim said, you can't get out of the neighborhood. When they built in 2004, they put a traffic light in front of Forest Lab. That there alone has caused so much traffic along Comac Road. You can't even get out of the neighborhood. It takes you 5-10 minutes to go north or south trying to go off Comac Road. When I was out there in '72, we never had those issues. It keeps growing and growing and growing, and we keep allowing that to happen because the town board is allowing these things to happen. We got to say no at one point in time. And that's all I have to say, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Tina LeBlanc Graff. I live at 45 Delaware Avenue. So my property.
Okay, don't need.
I
spell your-
swear to
No,
tell
no,
the truth.
You need to spell your last name, so it's on the record.
Tina LeBlond, LeBlond hyphen Graff, Graf.
Okay. Now raise your right hand. Do you
I
swear
swear
to
to
tell
tell all the truth.
Go ahead.
My property, I'm one of those houses that the property abuts with LIPA, but then Forest Labs. Now, when I bought the house 11 years ago, we just had a beautiful, lush, green trees. In 2004, when they did the expansion, to be quite honest, I never knew they were doing the expansion. I never received the notice. I think it's kind of faulty the way you guys send the notice. They send it certified mail. Me and my husband both work. I coach basketball on Saturday, so the time for me to go to the post office is Saturday morning. I never went. So I never got the notice mailed. It was certified, but that's just a point that I want to bring up. You know, they should just mail it. You know, let me know. If they want to certify it, that's great, but I also want to know. Aside from that, I have issue with the building, the height, the cooling system that they're putting in. I don't know what's going to be coming out of it. Do we know specifically which way it'll be blowing? We can't predict which way it'll blow. And one of my other big concerns is where they're putting the parking lot. I don't understand why they cannot put the parking on the south side in the banked areas.
I'm very sorry. I need to stop you. How much time do you need? You need a while? All right. We need to change all the